Okay, guys, Adam Trigger here. It is Saturday, and it's time to kick off the division round of the Major League Baseball playoffs. I'm going to be talking about two games today, two that I have opinions on. I think you can probably find the other two on the WagerTalk YouTube channel. And we will be back with total bases on Monday morning at 9 Eastern. So pretty much what we've decided to do with the total bases schedule the rest of the year. Any day there's games, we're going to do a show. Yesterday, there wasn't games. We just didn't feel like we had enough info on these games to do the show yesterday. So we decided to do them in this format, but we will be back with total bases on Monday at 9 a.m. Eastern. As far as today's games are concerned, I didn't have a huge, well, there's one early one that I don't have an opinion on at all. There's another one that I'm kind of still on the fence on. So I'm going to talk about the two later games because I know I have pretty strong opinions here, especially in these series. And these may end up making my card today. So one other thing about today's plays and every day the rest of the season at WagerTalk, Major League Baseball non-5% plays are going to be $9. So any MLB play for myself, Tokyo Brandon, Brian Leonard, any of the handicappers that's not a 5% play, $9. And the code bases89 gets you, or bases99 gets you the whole playoffs for $99. We'll all end up having a 5% or two at some point during the playoffs. And it pretty much, if you're going to buy the 5%, you might as well just get the rest of the playoffs. It'll pay for itself with a 5% or two. And I don't think any of the handicappers, at least on our show, have done a 5% play in the playoffs yet. So just get that out of the way. Now let's get to business here. Let's go Dodgers Phillies first. Interesting thing about the two series that I'm going to talk about. I want to find a way to play the underdog in both of these. I'm just not sure I want to do it in game one. Reason for that, game one tends to heavily favor the team that had the rest. If you look, Ralph Michaels on Thursday's show brought some great stats in terms of trends on these big favorites in game one or the favorite in game one, and they tend to do very well. Now, it doesn't mean they're going to it doesn't mean they're going to win the series. It just means this game, the first game after these 3-game wildcard series conclude, tend to favor the home team that had some rest. And so that, in this case, that would be the Mariners and that would be the Phillies. And so I want to oppose both of those teams, and I'm going to make a case here for the Dodgers, and I'm going to make a case here for the Tigers. I'll just have to think about through the rest of the day if I want to take a stand and make that play in game one or look for a spot later in the series to back those teams. Let's start with Dodgers Phillies. So what I like about the Dodgers, a couple things. I really do like where the Dodgers are at right now. I think this Dodgers team is the best version of the Dodgers. Something we talked about a lot. If you followed our Total Bases show this year and you watched our sort of analysis of this team, throughout the course of the season, we were always kind of finding reasons to fade the Dodgers, bet against the Dodgers relative to where they were priced in the market. Kind of felt like they were going through the motions at times. Then they had some injuries. Then it's like, well, they've got some things wrapped up. Maybe they're looking ahead to the playoffs. But the last couple weeks, we've been very pro Dodgers on the show. And I think it's because that playoff switch went on. The Padres started to make a move a little bit. They had to close out the division, which they did. And then, of course, the 2 games against the Reds, no contest right there. Blowout wins, clear better team. And I got to be honest, the Dodgers look like the best team in baseball right now. They have for the last couple weeks. I still think the 2024 defending champs are the team to beat in this postseason. They might not be the 1 or the 2 seed, but they're the team to beat. The team they're playing would be the team to beat, except they don't have Zach Wheeler. And I think that's a big, big issue for this Phillies team in terms of winning this series. It hasn't, people kind of, I feel like have forgot. Zach Wheeler, done for the year. He probably would have won the Cy Young Award in the National League had he not gotten hurt. His loss can't be understated, in my opinion. And I've said this. I said this when it happened. I said the Phillies can't win without him. And I truly believe that. I don't think the Phillies can win a World Series, get through multiple playoff series against teams like the Dodgers and anyone else they would have to play, the Brewers, the Cubs. I just don't think they can do it without Zach Wheeler. He is to know you're going to get him probably twice in a series, and then to not have him is just it's a loss that I don't think this team can overcome. And ultimately, I don't think they're going to overcome it against the Dodgers. And that's why I am going to make a case here for Dodgers plus 105. And I'm going to make a case for the Dodgers in this series. So Shohei Ohtani is going to be our starting pitcher for the Dodgers. I've all year said this is a guy that is probably a fade when he's on the mound. But remember, that was during the regular season when you never knew how many pitches he was going to throw. And the Dodgers were going to be a $2 favorite in every one of his starts. I just didn't think the price tag justified like how long he would be in the game, or, the fact that I do think Ohtani, if you look at his numbers offensively, they tend to dip a little bit when he's pitching. So I thought him pitching was a net negative for the Dodgers during the regular season, but that's because they were consistently priced as a $2 favorite when he was on the mound. Also, during the regular season, I think the Dodgers had more bullpen issues than they do now, and we'll get to that in a second. If we're just looking at Ohtani, the pitcher, phenomenal. I mean, if you look at his StatCast page, it's all red. It's all literally top 1%. Top 1% in the league for pitchers in barrel rate, hard hit, batting average, slugging percentage against. It's all top 1%. He is an elite pitcher when he's on the mound pitching. And that's, I think, the biggest point I want to make about Ohtani here is that it matters less how long he's on the mound in a playoff game than it does in the regular season. Why is that? Because the playoffs is just different. I've talked about it in previous series. I'll talk about it again here. If a guy is cruising like Cam Schlittler was on Thursday night, team's going to leave him in. But in the playoffs, every team's got a plan for the pitcher coming out after 4 or 5 innings. They'll have a plan for Ohtani coming out after 4 or 5 innings. If Ohtani's throwing the ball good, his pitch count's in check, and he feels good, he will go back out there. So I think it's less of it. Ohtani on the mound is less of a negative here for 2 reasons. One, the Dodgers will have a pitching plan that includes other arms other than him. And 2, I find it I don't think his offense suffering is as big of a deal against Christopher Sanchez, who's a tough lefty anyway. And the big thing for the Dodgers here is going to be getting Will Smith back because he is one of their best hitters against left-handed pitching. So you're up against Sanchez today, who's a very strong lefty, and you're getting a guy with an 840 OPS back against left-handed pitching. So that's huge for the Dodgers. And that's huge for I think the overall value of the Dodgers in this series. Now, the Dodgers bullpen, I have less of an issue with the Dodgers bullpen in the playoffs because I think the one thing that the Dodgers do as good as anyone is manage the bullpen. I was listening to Trevor May talk about this in a clip that was on social media. And he's a journeyman major leaguer. He's no longer in the league. But they asked him talk about bullpens and how they're different. And he said unequivocally that the Dodgers was the best organization I ever pitched for when it came from coming out of the bullpen. They were very specific all season about this is who you're going to face. This is your role. This is where we plan to use you. And they always stuck to it. They never really changed that. And I think while that might cost them a game or two during the regular season, it helps during the playoffs because the Dodgers, maybe more so than anyone, will know what the plan is for those later innings, I think, going into the game. Whereas sometimes managers, maybe like the Phillies, well, they're going to let Chris Sanchez go. He's earned the right. It's going to be his game. But when he comes out, I don't know that they know exactly what they're going to do. And I don't know that maybe they go get Sanchez early. What if the Dodgers are getting him into trouble early? Suddenly it becomes, I think, a very different game for the Phillies. Whereas the Dodgers, I think, are better equipped to handle that behind Ohtani. They've been kind of doing it all season. So I look at this series. I really do like the Dodgers. I think the fact that they're an underdog in this game, I make them a slight favorite. Am I a little bit nervous to bet against the Phillies in their home ballpark? Yes, they have a great home field advantage, and they have a tremendous record here at home. So that's a concern to me. Am I a little concerned to bet against the team that had a week off against the Dodgers team that just had to play? Yeah, that's another concern, and that's why I may be looking ahead to game 2. But if I was going to play this game 1, without a doubt, Dodgers plus 105 would be the play. And if I play either of these game 1s, they will be up on my page, and the play will be just $9. And if I play one of the earlier games, which I might play one of them, there's one I have my eye on. There's one that's definitely a pass in the earlier games. That will be on my page for just $9 as well. All right, let's talk about the other game. Tigers Mariners. If you watch Total Bases, you know how well I will do in the playoffs if the Mariners are to make it to the World Series. That was stuff that hopefully you guys followed along and placed some of those Mariners futures back in sort of May, early June when we really talked about it on the show. Hopefully you cashed that American League West Mariners future, which we talked about a ton on the show. I still think the Mariners maybe find a way in this series, but I don't think they're the value from a betting standpoint. And so I will be looking for spots to try to back the Tigers in this series. I am very intrigued by Tigers plus 1.5 here. And once again, I think the thing that maybe has me pumping the brakes just a little bit is how strong these big favorites are in game 1 of these series. The big sort of minus 190 to minus $2, minus 170 to minus $2 home favorite. And that's what Ralph was talking about on Total Bases on Thursday, was those sides in the minus 170 range, minus 180. This, of course, the Mariners minus 185, minus 190 here, tend to hit at a very high rate in this game 1, coming off of the bye. And that's the spot the Mariners are in here. That's about the only thing I like about the Mariners in this spot, though. I guess obvious, George Kirby, when he's on, can be very good, but this hasn't been a typical year for George Kirby. He's come off injury. He's been up and down in his rehab. The exit velo is concerning. He's giving up a lot of hard hit. I think that has something to do with still trying to fully rediscover his command. So, you're certainly getting George Kirby the ace from a price standpoint here. That minus 190 suggests you're going to get George Kirby the ace that is going to pitch to his numbers, which are like, I guess, last year's numbers, that mid-threes ERA, 1.07 whip, and his numbers are not that far off this year. I'm just not sure you're guaranteed to get that. The other thing that I think is really going to help the Tigers in this series is the fact that the Mariners pretty much go all right-handed pitching from a starting standpoint. And even though the Tigers have okay numbers against left-handed pitching, when you look at their whole season, this is the playoffs, and the guys that you really need, in my opinion, if you're the Tigers, to step up and do the damage are Kerry Carpenter and Riley Green. Those are the two guys that I think this offense is going to go as they go. I just don't think you're going to see the Tigers win a ton of games with guys like, Dylan Dingler and McKinstry, like needing to string hits together. Like it's, like the Tigers won a lot of games in April and May against teams like the Royals and the Twins, where it's like some of those guys are just kind of like, playing over their heads to an extent, stringing hits together, and the Tigers are finding a way. I think the ones that are going to have to do the damage in this series for Detroit are going to be the all-star type guys. And so that's huge that you're not going to have like many left-handed starters, which really hinders Green and Carpenter. Just look at what Hinch did in I think it was game 2, taking Riley Green out of the game where he took him out of the game. Like that is kind of crazy to me. But again, you look at the splits, you look at how he's, kind of struggled against left-handed pitching this year, and you can understand it. The thing I'm happy to bet on here all series is AJ Hinch. I think AJ Hinch is far and away the better playoff manager. I think he'll be the more prepared in terms of like, making decisions in game here. So while the Mariners on paper probably have the better team, probably have more talent, I would far prefer Hinch and the Tigers in a lot of these games. Unfortunately for the Tigers, they don't have quite the ability to mix and match like they did last year, where they're going bullpen game and they just seem to have an answer for everything the other team does from a pitching standpoint. but but I still think their pitching is pretty solid. And if you're going to get Jack Flaherty like you got Jack Flaherty in Game 3 against the Guardians, then this Tigers team becomes pretty dangerous. One guy I really do like a lot is Troy Melton, and Troy Melton is going to start this game for the Tigers tonight. Throws 97, lefty 97, 98. I'm sorry, right-handed pitcher, 97, 98 miles an hour. You can mix in some of the lefty bullpen arms is what I was getting at there. He's got great stuff. He's someone that if you follow my plays, you backed him quite a few times when he was on the Toledo Mud Hens this year. We sort of targeted him in AAA bets over the course of the year. And he's someone that we've talked about on total bases, sort of being like one of the more plus arms that the Tigers have right now. And the fact that Hinch does have a couple lefties that he can go with sort of off of him if they want, I think makes this a pretty decent setup from a pitching standpoint for the Tigers. Again, he's probably he's not going to have the leash that Kirby's going to have here either. So that's the other thing, like big that they had the day off yesterday, because the Tigers, like that day off for them having to not play a day after they had to play Game 3 is massive. It sort of keeps the bullpen fresh. And when you have Tariq Skubal coming up in this series, like I don't think AJ Hinch is going to spare any expense here. He will burn every bullpen arm he has to burn to win this game tonight. Like you can pretty much count on that. And he does it as good as anyone. So while I don't know if the caliber of arm that he has this year is as good as it was last year, I still like his ability to mix and match, and he's going to get to do it with his full team here because the Tigers didn't play yesterday because Flaherty gave him a good start on Thursday, and they had a pretty big lead toward the end of that game. So I think the pitching sets up at least comparable here for the Tigers to the Mariners. And that's really what I'm getting at when it comes to this series. I think this is going to be a very good series. I think these two teams are evenly matched. I think the Tigers have a massive advantage in in-game coaching. AJ Hinch, I think I've said this a million times, I'd give him an edge against just about any coach in the playoffs right now. That's still, any of these teams that are still playing. So I will be looking for a spot to play the Tigers. I think you can absolutely consider Tigers plus 1.5 here. Was kind of hoping it was a little cheaper, but it doesn't surprise me to play. The books really don't love giving you that plus 1.5 in the playoffs, especially with the road team, because you've got the juice is almost always such that they're going to try to get you to lay at least minus 135, minus 140. It's sort of why we've had to do some of the things we've done so far in the playoffs with the +1 and the -1. I really feel like the books price these games so competitive. And then when you do get the sort of -115, -105 games, they are competitive games. And that's why I think that this might actually be a very good spot to bet the Dodgers, because you're getting plus 105 when they probably should be a slight favorite. So those are the two free picks for me today. Dodgers on the money line, Tigers plus 1.5. They may make my client card. I'm not sure. That's something that you can keep an eye on my page throughout the day. It wouldn't be higher than a 4%er today for me. So it'll be $9. So check that out on my WagerTalk page. And if I have a play in one of the earlier games, which is possible, it would be $9 as well. Don't forget coupon code BASES99. Coupon code BASES99 gets you the entire playoffs, including 5% plays, just $99. And we'll be back Monday morning, 9 a.m. Eastern. 2 games on Monday, so we'll do the normal total basis show, both games. And any day that there's going to be a game, we're going to do a total basis. So for the rest of the playoffs, just so there's no confusion there. I hope everyone has a great Saturday. Cash all your tickets. I'll see you guys at some point on End Zone Live tomorrow right here on the WagerTalk YouTube channel. And like I said, back with more total bases on Monday morning. Have a great day, everyone. Cash your tickets. We'll see you guys tomorrow.